Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe it's all about them and no one on earth matters. And in today's episode, it's gonna be another wild one, guys. We've got Karen bosses, scamming Karens getting arrested, Karens getting embarrassed, nasty neighbors, and one OP wonders if they're the bad guy for embarrassing somebody on a date. You won't want to miss these stories today. I hope you enjoy them, don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So my boss is hella entitled, and you'll soon see why. I was traveling with my boss to a conference held in a hotel in Las Vegas. Before the first meeting of the day, we stopped at a little cafe in the hotel complex for breakfast. I had a bagel, and she had a pastry and a fruit salad. Well, she only ate about half the fruit salad, and she said she didn't want to waste the rest of it. So she told me she was going to the counter of the cafe to ask them to write her name on it and put it in the fridge for her to pick up later. That's when I said, my room has a little fridge, doesn't yours? If not, I can keep it in my fridge for you. She then said, no, I don't feel like going all the way back up to my room. I'll just have them save it for me. So hearing her say that, I argued that food safety laws don't allow them to take back food once it's served. But she told me that doesn't apply to situations like this. And then she said, like I said, I'm gonna have them write my name on the container and just toss it in the fridge for me. Well, the teenage counter girl tells her exactly what I said, that she can't take the food back for liability purposes. My boss then insisted on speaking to the manager, as manager to manager, they'll understand. The manager happened to be busy at the moment. My boss then raises her voice and she said, well, go get him now. We're going to be late for our meeting. Do you understand how important my meeting is? It's at this point I saw the wheels turning in the counter person's head. She's probably thinking, I'll just say okay, and then throw the fruit salad away. I'm not gonna be on shift here when she comes back later this afternoon. The girl then smiles and she says, okay, sure, what can it hurt? And she carefully wrote my boss's name on the lid in black marker. My boss then saunters away victoriously, and she said to me, see, people are happy to do things if you ask. People like you are so freaking timid. This is why you aren't more successful and I'm in the position you could have been in. Well, it doesn't end there. We met up for dinner later, and I asked, hey, did you remember to pick up your fruit salad? She told me she did, but it was all different people working, and they didn't know what she was talking about, and her fruit salad had been thrown away. That's when I said, oh, that's too bad. The manager probably made them toss it out. I'm so sorry. I know you wanted to eat the rest of it. And that's when she replies, oh, it's okay. I made them make me a whole new one for free since they threw mine away. No big deal. This is the same boss that once gave me a copy of The Fountainhead because she thought it would, quote, help me do better in life. She also quit that job by leaving for lunch one day and never coming back. She made her husband call the company weeks later and confirm she had quit. After all of their attempts to reach her were unsuccessful, the woman had worked there for 10 years. Holy freaking moly, guys. Like, that Karen is literally walking self-entitlement, just doing what she wants, and it seems like everyone's bowing down to her wishes and demands. Like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, reading this post, I had a huge smile on my face when she found out they threw her salad away for good reason. But that smile was quickly wiped off my face when learning that she probably threw a fit and made the people remake her salad for free. Like, the audacity of some people. And if you thought that post was wild, listen to this next post, guys. It only gets worse from here. So I'm a full-time assistant manager at one particular branch of the company I work for. Very occasionally, I have to do a shift at another store, usually in the morning because I'm training people. But today, I got the late afternoon shift over there just to make things easier. My normal branch is entirely carpeted, but this branch I'm covering in is mostly carpet with a strip of lino, maybe 5 meters wide, and the length of the wall, maybe 10 meters along the back wall. Every couple of days, that area gets mopped, usually just after the store closes to prevent accidents. Now today, I was doing training and kind of helping cover as well. Myself and the coworker I'm on with are both scheduled to finish at closing time, so things need to be done before we close, including mopping that section. Now, with that said, this branch has a Karen that's constantly trying to cause trouble for the staff. I haven't yet met this woman, but the ladies at this branch have warned me ahead of time what she's like, and I promise all this backstory is relevant. So it's getting close to close at the end of the day. There's a couple of people around that I'm helping when my coworker gets my attention. She discreetly points out to me that the woman they warned me about is in the store. The Karen's looking around, eyes darting, just generally looking a bit shifty. So I tell my coworker to stay at the counters, and I'm going down to the back to mop so I can keep an eye on her. The woman's wandering aimlessly around the store, and I pull out a mop and bucket and a wet floor sign, and I get to it, all the while watching her like a hawk. The woman doesn't do anything out of the ordinary until she notices me mopping. The woman makes a beeline for the table next to the lino that's a little further down from where I am. I notice that she keeps looking at me out of the corner of her eye. She then keeps fiddling with the table, keeps looking at me, and this repeats for about 5 minutes. Now, I have a feeling I know what's gonna happen, so I take a step back and turn to the side so I'm not facing her. What I'm facing is a mirror that has a perfect view of this woman without knowing I can see her. I then watch as she walks over and she lays down on the lino, and then she starts yelling, "Oh my god, my arm, it's broken." I of course whip around and come running to her, feigning shock and concern, asking her what happened. That's when Karen says, "I fell and broke my arm, you idiot. Oh my god, how could you let this happen? I'm gonna sue you. What's your name? I'm gonna sue you and this company right out of business." This is when I pull out my phone and tell her that I'm calling an ambulance. What I actually do is call my area manager, a woman that I have a brilliant working relationship with. We're on the same wavelength and friends at this point. So I call her up and say, "Hello, yes, I need an ambulance." The area manager says, "What's wrong? Has something happened?" I explain, "I have a lady here who's fallen over. She's broken her arm." It's at this point, Karen pipes up in the background and she says, "Damn right, I've fallen over. This is all your fault." The woman's clearly causing a scene, which is working because there's people around us watching this whole thing. The area manager asked, "Is it that woman?" I reply, "Yes, she thinks her arm might be broken." The area manager says, "So you need me to play along?" I say, "Yes, please." The area manager then asked me, "How does she think she fell?" I say, "I'm not sure, let me check." I then turn to Karen and say, "Hey, the dispatcher would like to know if you're feeling dizzy at all. Are you disoriented? Have you taken anything? Perhaps had something to drink?" That's when Karen screams at me and says, "F you. I fell on your effing wet floor because you were mopping and being careless and I slipped." That's when I tell Karen, "Ma'am, I haven't mopped this section yet. The floor here is completely dry. We also have cameras to prove it." And wouldn't you know it, her arm completely healed in a matter of seconds. The woman didn't say another word, she just began to stand up to leave. I stood up with her and I put on my deadly serious, "I am furious, don't mess with me, do you understand" voice. And I say to Karen, I would like to make something very, very clear. You're no longer welcome in this store, or in fact, any of our stores. I saw you lie down on the floor, and again, the cameras saw you lie down on the floor. How dare you try and pull a stunt like that? If I ever see you in here again, I will call the police. Now get out and don't come back. The woman just bolted for the door, and we never saw her again. Yeah, the post ends right there, guys, but oh my goodness, like the things some people will do to get what they want. And I'm not even kidding when I say that I feel mega embarrassed for the Karen getting called out on the little stunt she pulled. Like, how are you doing this in 2025 where literally there's cameras everywhere? And at least Karen did one thing right. She never showed her face again because she knows she'll be laughed out of there. One more thing to add, guys. Like, what was Karen's endgame here? Like, the ambulance is gonna show up. They'll find out real quick that her arm's okay, so some people just don't think things through. And this person comments, I had a woman do this, all on camera. I watched her lay on the ground and start screaming bloody murder. I come out and I say, "Don't worry, ma'am, I called an ambulance for you and the police, so we can take your statement. We also have a camera aimed right where you fell, so we can let them know what happened when they get here." Without saying a word, the woman just stands up and she walks out of the building. I really hate people sometimes. And while we're on the topic of cameras, guys, this next Karen, holy moly, listen to this one. So this isn't recent, but a similar incident I witnessed today brought back the memory. I worked at a grocery store a while back, and I was manning the cashier for the day. I generally don't let things get to me, but this particular customer was just the perfect combination of everything that irks me. The encounter started normal enough. The woman, who we'll call Karen for the sake of simplicity, began to unload her groceries onto the belt. As I was about to scan her first item, she stops me and she says, wait, I have price matches." To which I respond, "I'm sorry, ma'am, we no longer price match as of..." She then stops me right there and she says, "Yes, you do." To which I respond, "No, we don't. I'm so sorry, but we discontinued that policy as of..." She then interrupts me again and she says, "Don't lie to me." I respond, "I'm not lying to you." At this point, Karen's opened up her purse and she's pulled out her phone. And I'm thinking, great, this is gonna be fun. I turn off my checkout light in preparation for the incoming headache. Karen turns on her phone and she begins filming me. She says, "This man is refusing to honor the price match policy here at this store, and he's being very, very rude. What's your name? Tell everyone on camera what your name is." I tell her, "Ma'am, I'm not giving you my name, and you can't film here. Please put your phone down." At this point, she starts cackling like a madwoman. She says, "You are required by law to let me film and give your information, just like how you're supposed to honor your policies on price matching. This man needs to be fired." I just tell her, "Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to put your camera away or leave." She then says, "It's a free country. I can film anywhere I want, wherever I want. It's a public place. You have cameras filming me, so why can't I film you?" I respond, "This is a private business. Our cameras are for security purposes. You need to leave." The woman had her little girl with her, so I tried to remain calm and show her that not all adults are psychotic animals. I then noticed my supervisor walking over to my register at this point, and I remember the look of "why me" on her face. She asked, "Is everything okay here?" To which Karen says, "No, this stupid man refuses to honor my price match and he's turning away my business because he doesn't want to be filmed. I guess he's afraid that I'll show his fat, greasy face to all my Facebook followers." Now, I'm not gonna lie, that hit a nerve. I was going through a rough patch and I was very self-conscious about my appearance at the time. I opened my mouth to retort, but my supervisor stops me and she says, "Ma'am, I don't care where you post your video. Anyone with half a brain is gonna laugh at you and how childish you're acting once they watch it. If you want those prices on the ad, go to that store and harass the employees there. As of right now, your business is not welcome and you need to leave. I'm calling the police and I recommend you walk away." The woman proceeded to yell at my supervisor while she was on the phone, and the police had to come and escort her out of the building. The little girl was picked up by her father, who I remember looked exhausted. I felt awful for them. I never did end up finding out if she actually posted that video. Yeah, I think we can all agree that it would have been hilarious if somebody had a video of Karen getting arrested and they posted that all over Facebook. With that said though, like if you're planning on crashing out, maybe don't do it with your kids around. And definitely don't do anything that'll lead you to getting arrested, because that's definitely not traumatizing for a child to witness. Like, I just love how dad picked up the kid and he was like so over it. He was probably thinking, all of this to save a few dollars, like what is going on? And this person says it the best. They comment, "Oh my goodness, the part where she pulled out her phone makes me so mad. Like not only was she being difficult, but then she on purpose tried to make a spectacle out of the specific employee and company. That is so wrong. Any human being who does that is garbage. This story got me heated." So I'm a 40-year-old female, and I just got my driveway replaced 2 days ago. Asphalt, not concrete. The contractor told me that I could park my car on it again after 3 days. Google said 7 to 10. As much money as I spent on it, I decided to listen to Google. That said, I live on a two-way, yet one driving lane street. On my side, all of the houses are street level and they have driveways, while all the houses across the street are built on a bit of a hill with steps leading up to them. The only street parking is on my side. Their side has an alleyway/service road behind them where those owners can park. A lot of them choose not to. They'd rather park in front of our houses, which isn't a big deal. I don't own the street, and I don't care who parks there, as long as they're not blocking me in. There's 2 spots between every driveway. With that said, I've been parking on the street in front of my own house for these 2 days now, and I plan to stay there for at least another 5. I didn't park in the middle so that no other car could park because I'm not an a-hole. One of my across-the-street neighbors has a daughter who's home from college. She's maybe 19 years old, I don't know. What I do know is she drives an SUV that's entirely too big, and it won't fit in front of my car without partially blocking the driveway of the neighbor next to me. I'm outside this morning, watering my flowers, just minding my business, and this girl comes over unannounced and uninvited. The conversation went something like this. She comes up to me, no hello, no pleasantries, and she says, "Hey, when are you moving your car?" I respond, "Excuse me?" She then says, "My truck can't fit with your car there, so you gotta go." I then look over to my driveway that's clearly still roped off with yellow caution tape, and I said, "I just got my driveway done." She then says, "Yeah, I can see that, but it looks dry to me. My dad said that asphalt doesn't take as long as concrete to dry." At that, I just smile and I go back to watering. She then goes on and says, "So what I'm saying is you can go park your car on it now." At this point, I take a deep breath, clearly annoyed. I say, drying and curing aren't exactly the same. I won't be parking on it for another few days. Thank you very much. She then says, No, you need to do it now. There's nowhere else for me to park. What am I supposed to do? Park down the road and walk like 10 minutes to my house? And this is where my eye starts to twitch because not this little girl telling me what I need to do. I then say through clenched teeth, "What about your service road?" She replies, "Oh, my parents park back there. There's no room." I then say, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. Go park 10 minutes down the road and walk. I wish you an ounce of luck." The poor child turns a few shades of red and she stomps back across the street. I'm not one of those older millennials who think that Gen Z are all entitled babies, but what the heck was that? And in case you're wondering, I work from home, and I did all my grocery shopping and errand running a few days ago. I have no plans on leaving the house or my spot again until I can move my car onto my driveway. She'll just have to suffer. Update. So earlier today, I was outside on a video call with another contractor, showing them my fence that needs to be replaced. My neighbor, the father, was also outside doing yard work. He waved, and I gave him a polite smile and continued with my conversation. When he saw that I hung up, he waved again to get my attention, and then came across the street. He started by asking me my version of events yesterday, and I told him. He kind of looked mortified, and he just shook his head, and he mumbled, "That's her mother." He then proceeded to tell me how his daughter got all of his good traits and all of his wife's bad ones. I don't know what that meant, and I really don't care. I will say that I've owned my house for 9 years, and I've never once had a single interaction with the wife, only with him. She's never acknowledged me, and I'm okay with that. He also cleared up a few things. Number 1, she's 21 years old, not 19. Not that it matters, I just got it wrong. Number 2, the Suburban she's driving isn't even hers. Number 3. He never sent her over here to say anything to me, and he didn't tell her about the asphalt drying time with the intentions of her bringing it up to me. Apparently, he was just making small talk about the work that was done because he was home that day and she wasn't. She brought up that I wasn't in my driveway and he told her why. He then apologized and he said he would have her do the same. I told him that wasn't necessary as I don't want to interact with her again for any reason. He's now parking in front of my house so she has room for her school bus behind their house. Be kind. My father and I have a large garden at the front and back of the property. We have fruit trees and bushes, like figs and blackberries, along with tons of flowering plants that are gorgeous all year round. There are roses galore, and I'm obviously very proud of my garden. So yesterday, I was watering the garden at the front of the house because it was such a nice day. I was about to leave for a party, so I'm wearing makeup, wearing heels, and a pretty dress. I don't look anything like a gardener. Also, I live in an area where money flows like the Niagara Falls. And to be honest, we're probably the poorest people in the neighborhood. Having bought our place before the properties went from $600,000 to $4 million, which is crazy. I'm happily watering my beautiful garden when a lady in a very fancy car stops dead in front of our property. I can see her looking at me intensely, her husband and kids as well. She then yells at me and says, "Hey, you, come over here." The woman's waving at me towards her. Even though she had her young kids in the back, I am not about to approach her car because stranger danger, folks. I just shake my head at her and I yell out asking what she wants. She then says, "How much do you cost?" I respond, I'm not for sale." The woman then goes on and says, "Not you, you idiot. How much for your gardening services?" At this point, my mind goes blank. I can't understand what she's asking me, and I'm pissed that she calls me an idiot. I look down at my outfit and then at her, and I say, "I'm wearing a dress, you idiot. Do I look like I work as a gardener?" The woman seems super pissed at that, and she exits her car, coming straight for me. I'm taken aback at her aggressive stance and facial expression. She then says, "Don't you dare talk to me like that." To which I respond, "Don't you dare talk to me like that." The lady's still yelling at me saying, "How could I not know that you're not a damn gardener? You're watering plants for F's sake, aren't you?" I just say, "I'm wearing a dress and heels." She then says, "I don't know, you could be a fancy service. I don't want a grubby gardener. If I had a choice, you'd be wearing exactly what a gardener should be wearing." Now, first of all, fancy gardener services have probably never existed in the entire history of the world. And secondly, working in a garden is bound to make you dirty. The yelling obviously attracts stares of some of my neighbors who have known me for years, and obviously I'm not a gardener to them. The yelling also attracted the attention of my dad, who comes out of the house with a look of evil on his face. My dad's very tall and he's very, very muscular. He's also almost 70, so he can't see anything, making him squint all the time, as if he's sizing you up for a fight. The woman takes one look at my dad, and she visibly shrinks back. My dad comes up to her, his face very close to hers, and he screams, "Piss off." The lady looks back at her husband in the car, and he looks like he's about to crap his pants, so no support from that end. She scuttles back to her car, slams the door, and peels away. I give her a glorious middle finger, and even my father, patron saint of manners, joins me. I seriously never thought a Karen story would happen to me at home, but there we go. There's a first for everything. Yeah, fancy gardening services, that's a new one. Like rich Karens are delusional, I tell you. Oh look, a person who can't possibly afford to live in such a nice place, so you must be a lowly gardener. Despite the fancy attire, right? And I bet some of you are thinking what I thought when reading this post. Opie should have turned the hose on her. So my friend Grace recently invited me to a board game bar to play and have drinks with her boyfriend, and one of their friends, Nick, that they were trying to set me up with. We went to get drinks in pairs, Grace going with her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Nick and I stayed at the table and vice versa, so Nick and I had plenty of time to talk, just the two of us. Nick starts the night by telling me about his recent career change. He had decided to quit his previous job and go to a coding boot camp, and he got a job as a developer 1 or 2 months ago. The guy was very proud of himself and his new salary. He told me this multiple times. He never asked me what I do for work, but he talked about his new job quite a lot, occasionally saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, you wouldn't understand that, ha ha." During the entire evening, I never told him that I'd been working as a software engineer for the past 4 years, because he never asked, and honestly, I found it a bit entertaining. When it came to the drinks, he invited me to every single one, saying, "Don't worry about it, it's not a problem with my developer salary." I told him multiple times that he doesn't have to pay for me, but he insisted. At the end of the night, when we were saying our goodbyes, he took out his phone to send me a friend request on Facebook. My job's listed in my profile, so that's when he realized that I'm a software engineer. He then asked me if it's true that I'm a software engineer, and I answered yes. He then asked me why I never told him, and why did I let him believe that I was a cashier like Grace used to be. And why did I let him pay for everything when I probably earned like 4 times more than him? That's when I told him that he never once asked, and it's his fault, he assumed. He could have simply asked me about my job, but he only wanted to brag about his job and his salary. I told him if he wants me to, I can pay him back for the drinks. He was very angry, and he said I made a fool out of him, but I think he did that, not me. But now, my friend Grace and her boyfriend are on his side, saying it would have cost me nothing to tell him early in the evening, and I only kept it for myself for my own entertainment. Well, I did find it entertaining, but I don't really feel like I did anything wrong, so am I the a-hole in this situation? You know what, in my opinion guys, a-hole or not in this situation, I feel like OP dodged a bullet there. Like the guy showed a bit of his true, entitled, pompous self there, and to OP, I would hope that was a red flag. That said though, my opinion, OP's not the a-hole at all in this situation, and I honestly don't know how OP's friends are siding with that guy. And again, if the guy wasn't so frickin' obsessed about himself and his career, and if he let OP talk and didn't spend the whole night boasting about all the money he makes and saying, "Oh, but you wouldn't understand about my career," OP probably would have shared what she did for work. Like, consider paying the tab the a-hole taxer for trying to flex your position on who you thought was a lowly cashier. Another thing though, in regards to letting him pay for drinks when OP makes like 4 times his salary. Like if someone's offering to buy drinks, they're buying. Like who cares what the other person makes? Like if I'm gonna buy you a beer, you could have like $1 bajillion in the bank account and I'd still get you a beer, right? Like guys, let me know your thoughts on this situation. Again, OP's not the a-hole, and that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/malicious compliance episode where psycho Karen bosses are getting taught lessons by their workers. It's such a wild episode, so go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.